Earth joined the Galactic Alliance 3 years ago. Humans were new to space travel compared to other aliens who had been exploring stars for thousands of years. The Alliance included over 40 different species from across the Milky Way galaxy. While they welcomed Earth with friendly words and ceremonies, many aliens privately looked down on humans. Most alien species had natural advantages. Some had tough skin like armor. Others could see in the dark or lift many times their weight. A few could even control gravity or electricity with their minds. Compared to these abilities, humans seemed weak and simple. Jack Nelson worked as a communication officer at the Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime, the Alliance headquarters. Each day he watched powerful aliens walk past his desk. They rarely spoke to him directly. When they did, they used simple words, as if talking to a child. "It gets old," Jack said to his friend Susan Harris one evening. They sat in the embassy cafeteria, eating dinner after a long day. "Did you see how that Vexeran ambassador acted today? He seemed surprised I could operate a computer terminal." Susan nodded while drinking her coffee. She worked in the science department, studying alien technology that the Alliance shared with Earth. "They think we're primitive, just because their civilization is 10,000 years older than ours." "Breaking news," said the large screen on the cafeteria wall. An alien with blue skin and 4 eyes appeared. "The High Council announces the HFY Centennial Galactic Games will begin in 40 days. All Alliance members are invited to send champions to compete." Jack and Susan watched with interest. The games happened only once every 100 years. This would be Earth's first chance to participate. "The games test strength, speed, intelligence, and combat skills," the announcer continued. "Winners bring great honor to their worlds." The screen showed images from previous games. Aliens lifted enormous weights. They ran faster than Earth's fastest vehicles. They solved complex puzzles in seconds. They fought in arenas using both weapons and natural abilities. "Well," Jack said with a sigh, "at least we can watch. No human could compete with that." The next morning, Commander Natalie Wright called an emergency meeting at the Earth Embassy. Representatives from Earth's military, science teams, and diplomatic corps gathered in the secure conference room. "The Alliance has officially invited Earth to participate in the games," Natalie said. She stood tall and serious at the front of the room. "We must send a competitor," Captain Eric Summers, head of security, laughed. "You can't be serious. Did you see the strength requirements? The Croaxians can lift 2 tons without equipment. The speed trials. The Venturi move faster than human eyes can see." "I understand the challenges," Natalie replied calmly. "But declining would confirm what they already think, that humans are weak and unworthy of respect." Jack sat in the back of the room taking notes. He didn't usually attend high-level meetings, but they needed someone to record everything said. "Even if we participate and lose badly, at least we show courage," Susan suggested from her seat near the front. Eric shook his head. "We'd just embarrass ourselves. Our best athletes couldn't even qualify for most events." Natalie pulled up a document on the main screen. "That's why we're not sending an athlete. The rules allow each species to compete according to their own abilities and cultural practices. We're sending someone with a very specific set of skills." She showed an image of a man in simple black clothes. He appeared to be in his early 30s with short black hair and calm eyes. Nothing about him seemed special or powerful. "This is Alan Kuroda," Natalie explained. "Born in Chicago to an American mother and Japanese father. On paper, he works as a cultural consultant. In reality, he's part of something much more interesting." She paused, making sure the room was paying attention. "The Kuroda clan has practiced traditional ninjutsu for 15 generations, but not the public version known to the world. They've developed abilities that even most humans don't know exist." Eric laughed again. "A ninja? Against aliens who can bend gravity? This isn't a movie, Commander." "Watch this," Natalie said. She played a video showing Alan in what looked like a training session. Jack leaned forward in his chair. At first, Alan moved normally, facing 3 opponents. Then something strange happened. Alan seemed to blur, almost disappear. before reappearing behind his opponents. They fell to the ground before they could turn around. The video showed several more demonstrations, each more impressive than the last. "How is he doing that?" Susan asked. Her scientific curiosity clearly sparked. The Kuroda techniques involve what they call merging with emptiness, moving through spaces between moments of perception, Natalie explained. They've trained their bodies and minds to operate in ways science hasn't fully explained. We've measured him moving short distances in what appears to be no time at all. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. "The aliens don't know about this?" Jack asked, surprising himself by speaking up. Natalie turned to him. "No, Earth has kept certain capabilities private. The Alliance thinks they know all about human abilities from our public records and observation. They've never seen someone like Alan." "Even if he has unusual skills," Eric said, still skeptical. "One human against the galaxy's best?" "We don't need to win everything," Natalie replied. "We just need to show enough to change how they see us, to make them wonder what else they might not know about humans." The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed strategy, risks, and what success might look like. When it ended, Jack stayed behind, still writing notes. "Commander," he said, as Natalie gathered her materials, "do you really think we have a chance?" She looked at him thoughtfully. "Jack, throughout history, dominant powers always underestimate newcomers. They can't imagine being surprised. That's our advantage." 3. Weeks later, Earth officially entered Alan Kuroda in the Galactic Games. The news spread quickly through the Alliance. Many aliens found it amusing. "How wonderful that the humans want to play," said a Tellurian diplomat on public broadcasts. "Participation is its own reward for young species." Other reactions were less kind. Some called it a waste of time. Others suggested Earth was disrespecting the games by sending someone who couldn't possibly compete. Alan arrived at Centauri Prime without fanfare. He carried one small bag and wore simple clothes that helped him blend into crowds. The alien press barely noticed him. They were busy following famous champions from powerful worlds. Jack was assigned as Alan's guide and assistant during preparation. He expected someone intense or showy, like the martial artists in movies. Instead, he found a quiet man who spoke little and watched everything. "Are you nervous?" Jack asked as they walked through the enormous arena where the games would take place. "No," Alan replied simply. "The Croaxian champion has won 3 times before. The Venturi competitor can move faster than our instruments can measure. The Arcturian can—" Alan stopped walking. "Their abilities are impressive, but they rely on what they can do, not what they can see." "What do you mean?" "They expect certain kinds of strength," Alan explained. "They won't look for different kinds." He continued walking, studying the arena layout carefully. In the final days before the games, representatives from all competing worlds attended a formal reception. Huge aliens with extra limbs, beings made of crystal or living metal, species with advanced technology built into their bodies, all gathered to socialize and quietly assess their competition. Alan stood quietly at the edge of the room, watching. Jack stayed near him, feeling out of place among so many powerful beings. A large blue-skinned Croaxian approached them. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with muscles that seemed impossible to defeat. "So you are Earth's champion," the Croaxian said, looking down at Alan. "You seem fragile." Alan simply nodded politely. "I hope you don't break easily," the Croaxian continued with a rumbling laugh. "It would be disappointing if your first games ended too quickly." As the Croaxian walked away, Jack felt angry at the disrespect. "They all think we're a joke." Alan watched the Croaxian with calm eyes. "Let them laugh now. The games would begin tomorrow." Earth was about to surprise the galaxy. The first day of the Galactic Games arrived. Thousands of spectators filled the giant arena on Centauri Prime. They came from all 43 worlds in the Alliance. The arena changed its environment to match different competitions. It could become hot or cold, raise or lower gravity, and create any obstacle needed. Jack arrived early to help Alan prepare. He found the human champion meditating in the small room assigned to Earth's team. Alan sat perfectly still with his eyes closed. "The opening ceremony starts in 30 minutes, Jack said. "Commander Wright says you should wear this." He held out a simple black uniform with a small Earth patch on the shoulder. It looked plain compared to the fancy armor and tech suits other competitors would wear. Alan opened his eyes and nodded. "Thank you." He changed into the uniform without any fuss. "Are you ready?" Jack asked, feeling nervous for all of humanity. "There will be billions watching across the galaxy." "Numbers don't matter," Alan replied. "Only what happens in the moment matters." They walked to the gathering area where champions from all worlds waited. The other competitors were impressive. Some stood twice as tall as Alan. Others had extra limbs or glowing eyes. A few weren't even solid, appearing as swirling energy or flowing liquid somehow contained in humanoid shape. The Croaxian champion from the reception stood with his team. He wore armor plates that highlighted his massive muscles. When he saw Alan, he laughed and pointed. "Look." The human actually showed up to be defeated. Several other aliens joined in the laughter. Alan's face showed no reaction. He simply waited quietly for the ceremony to begin. In the stands, Commander Wright sat, with the Earth delegation. They had the smallest section, just 12 humans among thousands of aliens. Susan sat beside her holding scientific equipment to record the events. "I hope this works," Susan whispered. "If we look too weak, some species might decide we're not worth keeping in the Alliance." Natalie nodded. "That's exactly why we need to surprise them. We don't need to win everything. We just need to show we belong." Loud music filled the arena as the opening ceremony began. Each champion walked onto the central platform when their world was announced. The crowd cheered loudly for famous competitors from powerful worlds. When the announcer called Earth, a silence fell over the arena. Most spectators had never seen a human before. Alan walked calmly to the platform and stood with perfect stillness. "That's their champion?" someone said loudly enough for the Earth delegation to hear. It looked so ordinary. The first event was the obstacle course. It tested speed, agility, and adaptability. The course changed randomly during the competition so no one could memorize it. Competitors would face gravity shifts, moving walls, electric barriers, and falling obstacles. "Champions, prepare yourselves," the announcer called. 12 competitors took positions at the starting line. Alan was the only human. The others represented the strongest worlds in the Alliance. The Croaxian stretched his huge muscles. The Venturi, a tall, thin being with silvery skin, seemed to vibrate with energy. An Arcturian with 4 arms checked devices attached to its limbs. "Begin." The champions burst forward into the course. The Croaxian crashed through barriers with raw strength. The Venturi moved so fast it was hard to see. Others used their natural abilities or technology to advance. Alan moved differently. He didn't fight against obstacles. He flowed around them. When gravity suddenly increased, making others struggle to move, he adjusted his body instantly. Where others saw solid walls and had to climb or break through, Alan found small openings and passed through spaces that seemed too small for a body. In the control room, technicians monitoring the course grew confused. "Something's wrong with the human's tracker," one said. "It keeps losing him and finding him again." "Check the cameras," another replied. They looked at video feeds showing the course. They could see all competitors clearly except Alan. Sometimes he was visible, moving smoothly through obstacles. Other times he seemed to disappear for a split second before reappearing somewhere else. "That's impossible," a technician said. "The sensors cover every millimeter of the course." Back in the stands, aliens watched with growing confusion and interest. The Earth delegation held their breath as Alan approached the final section, a climbing wall with panels that randomly shot out electric shocks. Other competitors were carefully testing panels before touching them. The Croaxian simply endured the shocks, his tough skin protecting him. But Alan moved in what seemed like a random pattern, touching only safe panels seconds before they would have become electrified. "How is he doing that?" Susan whispered. "Even I don't know exactly how his abilities work." "He's not just predicting, Natalie replied quietly. He's perceiving things differently. Time, space. The Kuroda clan says reality has gaps and they've learned to use them. Alan reached the top of the wall and hit the finish marker. The arena fell silent for a moment. Then the results appeared on the giant screens around the arena. Earth, 423 Venturi, 815 Croaxian, 902 Earth had finished the course in almost half the time of the second-place competitor. The silence stretched for several seconds before the arena erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered in excitement, others shouted in disbelief. Impossible! The course must be broken. The human cheated. The Croaxian team immediately filed a complaint with the judges. Officials reviewed the footage carefully. We can find no evidence of cheating, the head judge announced after 30 minutes. The Earth competitor used no prohibited technology. For assistance, the results stand. Jack waited at the preparation area when Alan returned. His face showed amazement. That was incredible. How did you do it? Alan took a drink of water. I saw the spaces between things. What does that mean? Where others see solid objects, I see the tiny gaps. Where they see time moving forward, I feel the pauses between moments. Alan spoke simply, as if explaining something obvious. News of the human victory spread quickly through the arena and across communication channels to all Alliance worlds. Species that had never paid attention to Earth suddenly wanted information about humans. In a private room, Alliance military officials gathered to discuss what they had seen. Did you know humans could do this? Asked a general from the Arcturian forces. Our intelligence said they were physically unexceptional, replied another officer. This changes our assessment. Back in the Earth delegation area, Natalie received messages from the home planet. Earth governments were cautiously celebrating but also concerned. They want to know if revealing these abilities was wise, she told Susan. Some fear it might make other species see us as a threat now instead of just weak. Better feared than dismissed, Susan replied. Besides, we've shown just one human with special training. They don't know how many others might exist. The second event would begin soon. A combat simulation where competitors faced virtual enemies. The aliens watched Alan with new interest as he prepared. The human was no longer a joke. He was a mystery, and in the galaxy, mysterious things were either respected or eliminated. The second event of the Galactic Games started 2 hours after the obstacle course. This event tested combat skills against virtual enemies. Each competitor would enter a simulation chamber where computer-generated opponents would attack. The system adapted to each species, creating challenges that matched their abilities. Alan waited calmly while technicians prepared the chamber for him. The Venturi competitor had just finished with an impressive score, defeating 56 virtual enemies in 3 minutes. The simulation will read your movements and adjust to your skill level, explained a technician with green skin and 4 eyes. The enemies will become harder as you defeat them. I understand, Alan said. Jack stood nearby, still amazed by what he had seen earlier. After your performance in the obstacle course, they've adjusted the difficulty. They think you're hiding more abilities. That's fine, Alan replied simply. The chamber door opened. Inside was an empty white room that would create solid-looking holograms once the simulation began. Alan stepped inside, wearing only his simple black uniform. He carried no weapons or devices. Beginning human combat simulation in 3, 2, 1. The white room transformed into a forest setting. Trees appeared around Alan. The light dimmed as if he stood in deep woods. 10 human-shaped figures materialized, surrounding him. They held various weapons, swords, staffs, and throwing stars. In the control room, technicians and judges watched on screens. In the arena, large displays showed the simulation to thousands of spectators. The system created ninja opponents, a technician said. It's matching his own fighting style. The virtual ninjas attacked all at once. Alan moved with incredible speed. He didn't try to block or dodge all attacks. Instead, he seemed to know exactly which ones would miss. He focused only on the real threats, moving with perfect efficiency. When he struck back, his hands moved so quickly they blurred on the screens. Virtual enemies fell one after another. As each group of enemies was defeated, more appeared, faster and stronger than before. 20 new opponents surrounded Alan, then 30, then 50. The simulation created the hardest challenges it could, trying to find Alan's limits. In the stands, aliens watched with growing amazement. Even those who had seen the obstacle course were stunned by Alan's combat skills. "Notice how he moves," Susan said to Natalie. "He's not reacting to attacks. He's moving before the enemies even begin their motions." "Precognition?" Natalie asked. "The Kuroda clan calls it seeing intentions before action. They can read subtle body signals that show what an opponent will do next." On the screens, Alan faced a final wave of 100 virtual enemies. They attacked from all directions at once. For a moment he stood perfectly still in the center of the swarm. Then he moved in a pattern that seemed impossible to follow. To the amazed spectators, it looked as if Alan passed through solid bodies. Virtual enemies struck each other instead of him. Some fell without being touched, as if invisible forces had struck them. When the simulation ended, the final score appeared. Earth, 273 enemies defeated. New galactic record. The previous record had been 189, set by a Croaxian champion 50 years earlier. The arena erupted in noise, cheers, shouts, and arguments. The Croaxian delegation immediately demanded an investigation. "The human must be using prohibited technology," their leader shouted. Officials scanned Alan thoroughly as he exited the simulation chamber. They found nothing. No hidden devices, no implants, nothing but a human body. "The results are valid," the head judge announced. "Earth has set a new galactic record." News of the second victory spread even faster than the first. The story reached Earth, where people celebrated in cities around the planet. Humans who had felt small in the galaxy suddenly stood taller. But not everyone was happy. Some alien species began to worry. If humans had hidden such abilities, what else might they be hiding? In a secure room deep inside the arena complex, high-ranking military officials from 7 powerful worlds met in secret. "This human is a problem," said an Arcturian general. "His abilities exceed our intelligence reports on Earth." "One exceptional individual doesn't make their species a threat," replied a Venturi commander. "But it raises questions," said a Croaxian officer, still angry about losing. "If they've hidden this from us, what else are they concealing? How many more like him exist on Earth?" "We should reconsider our defense agreements with Earth," suggested another. "Perhaps limit the technology we share." Meanwhile, Alan rested in the Earth preparation room. He sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Jack entered with food and water. "The whole arena is talking about you," Jack said excitedly. "Some aliens are saying you must be more than human." Alan opened his eyes. "I am exactly human, just trained differently. Tomorrow is the third event, targeting. Precision. It tests accuracy with projectile weapons." Jack showed Alan the schedule on a small screen. "The Arcturians always win this one. They have 4 eyes and perfect depth perception. We all have limitations," Alan said, "and strengths." In the Earth delegation's private room, Natalie received urgent messages from home. Earth governments were concerned about the reaction to Alan's performances. "They want us to consider withdrawing from the games," she told Susan. "They fear we're creating enemies among powerful species." "Withdrawing would look worse now," Susan argued. "Like we have something to hide. We need to finish what we started." Natalie agreed but felt uneasy. She had noticed military officials from several worlds watching Alan with intense interest. Some species valued strength above all else. They respected power, but also sought to control or eliminate potential threats. That night, as most competitors slept, 3 shadowy figures entered the Earth quarters. They moved silently toward Alan's room, carrying small devices designed to scan his body while he slept. They wanted to discover the secret of his abilities. The door to Alan's room opened silently. The intruders stepped inside. The room was dark and appeared empty. The bed had not been slept in. "Where is he?" one whispered. "Right here," came a quiet voice from behind them. The intruders spun around. Alan stood behind them, though none had heard or seen him enter. He made no threatening moves. He simply watched them with calm eyes. "You seek knowledge that isn't yours to take," he said. The intruders backed away. They had not expected to be discovered. Without a word, they turned and fled from the room. Alan didn't report the incident to arena security. He simply returned to his meditation. The games would continue. For 3 more days, Earth had made its point, but not everyone had accepted the message. The 3rd day would bring new challenges and new dangers. Some aliens now saw humans not as weak primitives, but as potential threats. Alan had changed how the galaxy viewed Earth, but change always brought risk. Morning approached. The next phase of the Galactic Games would soon begin. The 3rd day of the Galactic Games brought clear tension to the arena. Alan's victories had changed the atmosphere. Where aliens once laughed at Earth's participation, they now watched with serious faces and whispered conversations. The 3rd event was the Precision Challenge. Competitors would use targeting weapons to hit moving objects at increasing distances. Each species could use weapons that matched their natural abilities. Some had eye implants for perfect aim. Others used advanced technology that calculated wind and gravity automatically. Jack found Alan practicing in a quiet corner before the event. Alan moved his hands through the air in slow, precise motions, following invisible patterns. "The Arcturians are worried," Jack told him. "They've won this event for the last 7 games. Their 4 eyes give them perfect depth perception." Alan continued his practice without pausing. "Every advantage has a limit." "Security reported that someone tried to access your medical scans last night," Jack added. "Commander Wright has posted guards around our section." "I know," Alan replied. "Some fear what they don't understand." When the time came for the event, 12 competitors gathered in the targeting area. Each received the weapon of their choice. The Arcturian selected a complicated rifle with multiple scopes and sensors. The Croaxian chose a heavy launcher that used gravity pulses. A crystalline being from Rigel accepted a light-based weapon that connected directly to its body. Alan requested a simple set of metal throwing stars, small, flat objects with pointed edges. "These are primitive projectiles," said the equipment manager, looking confused. "We have advanced versions with guidance systems." "These will be sufficient," Alan replied. The first targets appeared 50 meters away, small floating spheres moving in random patterns. Each competitor took turns hitting as many as possible in 30 seconds. Most hit between 40 and 50 targets. The Arcturian hit 63. When Alan's turn came, he moved with incredible speed and precision. His throws seemed casual, almost effortless, yet each star hit its target exactly in the center. 68 hits, announced the scoring system. The targets moved to 100 meters, then 200, then 500. At each distance, Alan's accuracy remained perfect. He never hesitated or adjusted his aim. He simply threw, and the stars hit their marks. "How is he doing that?" an alien spectator asked loudly. "There's no way to calculate the trajectories that quickly." Natalie and Susan watched from the Earth section, both amazed despite knowing Alan's abilities. "He's not calculating," Susan said quietly. "The Kuroda technique involves becoming one with the target. In his mind, there is no distance to cross." In the final round, targets appeared at 1,000 meters, tiny dots barely visible to most competitors. Even the Arcturian missed several. Alan stepped forward when his turn came. He paused for a moment, taking a slow, deep breath. Then he released his stars one after another. "Perfect score," the system announced. "All targets neutralized." For the 3rd time, Earth had won an event. The arena remained oddly quiet. There were no cheers, just a tense silence broken by murmurs and whispers. The head judge consulted with officials before announcing, "Earth wins the Precision Challenge. The games will continue tomorrow with the team event." As Alan left the competition area, Jack met him with a worried expression. "The Croaxian delegation has filed an official protest. They're demanding you undergo special scanning to prove you're not using hidden technology." Let them scan, Alan said calmly. They'll find nothing but a human body. Meanwhile, in the Alliance, council chamber above the arena, urgent meetings took place. Representatives from major worlds gathered to discuss the unexpected situation. Earth has hidden their true capabilities from us, said the Croaxian representative, pounding his massive fist on the table. This is a breach of Alliance agreements. We shared what we know of our general abilities, replied Greg Wilson, Earth's ambassador. The Kuroda techniques are practiced by very few individuals. They're not representative of humanity as a whole. Yet, you chose to reveal these abilities now, in the games, said the Venturi representative, her silver skin shimmering with agitation. Why? To demonstrate power? To threaten? To earn respect, Greg answered honestly. Many in the Alliance treated Earth as primitive. We needed to show we belong as equals. The Arcturian representative, normally calm and logical, spoke carefully. This human, Alan Kuroda, how many others like him exist on Earth? Greg hesitated before answering. The Kuroda clan is small, perhaps 50 individuals with advanced training. But their techniques are not the only special abilities humans have developed over our history. This answer caused visible concern among the aliens. The meeting continued for hours without resolution. Back at the arena, Alan submitted to extensive scanning by Alliance security. They used advanced technology to examine every cell in his body, every neural pathway, every muscle fiber. Nothing, reported the chief security officer. No implants, no genetic modifications, no artificial enhancements. He appears to be a standard human male in excellent physical condition. That's impossible, argued the Croaxian security officer. No unmodified being could perform as he did. Perhaps, suggested another officer, we do not fully understand what humans are capable of. That evening, Earth's delegation gathered in their private room to discuss the situation. Natalie looked tired but determined. The Alliance Council is divided, she explained. Some see our victories as threatening. Others are simply curious. A few are impressed and want to learn more about human abilities. What happens next? Jack asked. Tomorrow is the team event, Natalie replied. Competitors will work in randomly selected pairs to complete a series of challenges. Alan will be paired with another species. That could be dangerous, Susan warned. Some competitors might sabotage their human partner. Alan, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. Fear comes from not understanding. Tomorrow I will work with whoever becomes my partner. Perhaps sharing a challenge will build trust. Late that night, as most of the arena slept, a message arrived for Alan. It came from the Venturi competitor, the tall, silver-skinned being who moved with incredible speed. Human, the message read, I have been selected as your partner for tomorrow's event. I do not trust you, but I respect skill. Meet me at Practice Area 7 before dawn if you wish to coordinate our abilities. Alan read the message and nodded slightly. A beginning, perhaps. Understanding would not come quickly, but it would come. The fourth day would bring new challenges, and perhaps the first step toward true acceptance in the galactic community. Earth had proven its strength. Now it needed to show it could be a trusted ally. Outside the Earth quarters, security cameras watched for threats. Throughout the arena complex, aliens discussed the human who had changed how they viewed an entire species. Some feared what they had seen, others wondered what other secrets Earth might hold. The games continued, but they had already changed the galaxy. Alan arrived at Practice Area 7 before sunrise. The large training room was empty except for the Venturi competitor who waited in the center. The silver-skinned alien stood nearly 7 feet tall with long, thin limbs that could move faster than human eyes could track. I am Narration, the Venturi said. You move in ways that should not be possible for your species. I am Alan, he replied with a small bow. Your speed is impressive as well. Narration studied Alan carefully. Today we will be judged as a team. I do not wish to lose because of a human partner. Show me what you can do so we can plan our strategy. For the next hour they demonstrated their abilities to each other. Narration could move at incredible speeds in short bursts, Alan showed how he could perceive and move through spaces others couldn't see. At first, they worked separately, but gradually they began to coordinate their movements. Interesting, Narration said after watching Alan avoid a series of training drones without seeming to move. You do not teleport as some believed, you simply step between moments. And you don't just move quickly, Alan observed. You can perceive everything around you even at high speed. Slowly, a mutual respect formed between them. By the time other competitors began arriving at the arena, Alan and Narration had developed several combination moves that used both their abilities. The team event began at midday. 6 pairs of competitors would face a complex challenge that required both individual skill and perfect cooperation. The arena transformed into a massive multi-level structure with obstacles, threats, and targets. Teams must retrieve the golden sphere from the central chamber and return it to the starting point, announced the head judge. You will face automated defenses in changing environments. Teams will be scored on time, efficiency, and cooperation. Alan and Narration stood at their starting position. Around them, other pairs prepared. The Croaxian had been paired with a tree-like being from Proxima b. The Arcturian was matched with a floating gas creature from the outer systems. Remember, Narration said quietly, we have an advantage. They expect us to work poorly together because of prejudice. Alan nodded. Expectations can be a weakness. A loud signal marked the beginning of the event. All teams rushed into the challenge structure. Immediately they faced moving walls, shifting gravity, and defense drones that fired stun pulses. From the observation deck, Jack watched nervously as the teams navigated the course. Some pairs struggled to coordinate their different abilities. The Croaxian moved too quickly for his plant-based partner, leaving it behind several times. Look at Alan and Narration, Susan said, pointing to a display screen. The human and Venturi moved together with surprising harmony. When automated defenses fired at them, Alan would create an opening that Narration would exploit with her speed. When heavy barriers blocked their path, Narration would distract the systems while Alan found the hidden gaps to pass through. They're working perfectly together, Natalie observed. Better than species who have known each other for centuries. In the command center, Alliance officials watched with growing interest. The human adapts quickly, said a Venturi commander. He complements Naration's abilities rather than competing with them. This is concerning, replied a Croaxian general. Humans learning to work with other species could pose strategic problems. Or opportunities, suggested an Arcturian diplomat. Perhaps we have been too quick to dismiss their potential as allies. Inside the challenge structure, Alan and Narration reached the central chamber first. The golden sphere floated in a protected energy field, surrounded by sensors and defense systems. The field adapts to whatever tries to breach it, Narration explained. It learns from each attempt. Alan studied the shifting patterns of energy. Then we must do what it can't predict. Together, they implemented a plan that neither could have executed alone. Narration used her speed to trigger all the sensors simultaneously, causing the system to divide its attention. In that brief moment of confusion, Alan moved through a space that wasn't quite physical, reaching the sphere without actually crossing the protected area. The moment his hand touched the golden sphere, alarms sounded throughout the structure. The return path would be even more difficult. All defense systems activated, came an automated announcement. Maximum security protocols engaged. Heavy barriers sealed the pathways. Combat drones filled the corridors. The gravity shifted randomly, sometimes increasing to 3 or 4 times normal, then dropping to near zero. We need to move together, Alan said, holding the sphere. Perfect synchronization. What followed amazed everyone watching. Alan and Narration moved as if they had trained together for years. When gravity increased, Alan found the paths of least resistance while Narration provided bursts of momentum. When drones attacked, they protected each other without words or signals. Other teams struggled far behind. The Croaxian and his partner had barely reached the central chamber. The Arcturian team had taken a wrong turn and was fighting through additional barriers. They're going to win, Jack said excitedly. A human and a Venturi working together. No one expected that. As Alan and Nareen approached the finish point, they faced a final challenge. The exit sealed with an energy barrier that required two different types of interaction simultaneously. "I cannot pass through that," Nareen said, studying the flickering energy. "It vibrates at a frequency that counters my natural speed. And I cannot find gaps in pure energy," Alan added. "We must find another way." For a moment they stood silently, considering their options. Then Alan handed the golden sphere to Nareen. "Do you trust me?" he asked. Nareen hesitated before answering. "After today, yes." Alan stepped close to his partner. "When I say now, run directly at the barrier at your maximum speed, holding the sphere before you." "That would normally cause severe injury," Nareen objected. "Not today," Alan replied with quiet confidence. They moved together toward the barrier. When they were just 3 steps away, Alan said, "Now." Nareen burst forward at incredible speed. At the exact same moment, Alan moved in his own unique way, creating a momentary gap in the energy field, not by breaking it, but by finding the space between its pulses. Their combined actions allowed them to pass through unharmed, Nareen's speed carrying them both as Alan maintained the temporary opening. They crossed the finish line together, Nareen holding the sphere high. "Team Earth Venturi completes the challenge," announced the scoring system. "New galactic record established." The arena erupted in genuine cheers, not just from humans but from many alien spectators as well. Something had changed. What had begun as amusement at Earth's participation had become respect for human abilities. And now, seeing cooperative success, some began to see potential for true partnership. Later, as awards were presented, the Venturi ambassador approached Natalie. "Your champion has taught us something important," the ambassador said. "Different does not mean lesser. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." The games concluded the next day with a final ceremony. Earth had won 3 events outright and shared victory in the team challenge. No species had performed better. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, the message was clear throughout the galaxy. Humans were no longer the amusing newcomers. They were equals with unique abilities and untapped potential. Alan stood quietly as dignitaries made speeches about cooperation and respect. Jack approached him with a smile. "You've changed everything," Jack said. "No one will laugh at humans again." Alan nodded slightly. "That was only the beginning. Now the real work starts, building trust." As their ship departed Centauri Prime, Earth had a new place in the galaxy. Not just as a world to be tolerated, but as a civilization to be respected. The ninja had entered the arena and the galaxy would never be the same.